It's DJ NV Angela Yee, Charlemagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Now we have a young lady on the line. We spoke about her earlier this morning. She was the nurse that quit her job, and her name is
Yes,
Melissa.
Melissa
Good morning,
Thomas
Melissa.
Scott.
Good morning, Melissa.
Yes.
How are you feeling this morning?
Hey,
Peace, Queen. How
I'm
you?
in shock. I'm good. My cousin that lives in New York called me and she said they're talking about you on the radio up here. I was like, what?
That's
And so
Shaniqua. Shout to
that's
Shaniqua.
only my cousin Shaniqua. Yes, that's only a small part of the story. What everybody's saying, there's so much more behind what forced me to make that decision. I mean, I didn't want to leave my job. That's the last.
No, wait,
thing
Melissa, before
that I
you get
would
into
do.
it, just for backstory in case people didn't hear, you quit your job on Instagram Live. You're a nurse.
Okay, so for starters, when the coronavirus outbreak, came to our area, I've already taken care of coronavirus. I've already been assigned one of those patients. Okay, after that patient, it was a patient that was being tested for coronavirus. For starters, my concern, I even brought my concern up to the charge nurses, my team leaders. I'm like, hey, here's a part of the story that people don't know. My husband is in another state. He's not even here. Like, if I have to self-quarantine, who's going to watch my children? It's not the fact, because I have children. It's who's going to watch them if I have to be self-quarantined. That's the thing. After I took care of this initial patient, I felt sick the following weekend. Like I was coming down with a cold. And all I could think about is, was this patient positive? So when I went back to work, I asked my team leader, I said, how will we know, or will we be notified if our patients come back positive? Oh, yours was positive. Your manager, I don't want to say her name, the manager should have sent you an email. I said, she didn't. I pulled it up then. We looked, double-checked, no email. Everybody else that had contact with this patient, they're like, oh, she called us. She emailed us. I felt some type of way about that. I said, why didn't she contact me? Because, I should know. So then my team leader said, well, it's probably because you had the proper PPE on at the time of care. I did not feel comfortable with that because there have been reports of still contracting the virus, even with the proper PPE. So I followed up with people I know in upper management. I even called employee health. Both said whether or not you had PPE on at the time of care, your manager is supposed to notify you. And I was never notified. I even approached the manager. She was very nasty whenever I asked her about it. And, I didn't get the answer I needed. In an email I sent her, she told me that the only people that were being notified were those that had direct contact with the patient prior to being put on enhanced precaution. I didn't feel comfortable with that, so I waited to see if somebody else might have had a similar situation, like one of my coworkers. Mm-hmm. And it did come. One of my coworkers, same situation as mine, on enhanced precautions at the time of care. Her patient ended up positive. She was contacted by our manager. And so I sent her another email asking her again, why was I not notified of my patient's positive status? And then that's when she said, call me. No, you're trying to say something in a phone call that you can't say in an email. That's what it is. You're trying.
She don't want to keep that paper trail.
Thank you. And that's what I was trying to do, keep a paper trail on her because she knows she messed up. She knows that she messed up. And so, I think that this was retaliation against me because I was on her ass about not notifying me. Okay, and let me just make it clear. Not one time did I bash my hospital. Mm-hmm. When I made that video, I wasn't thinking, you still have your freaking badge on. There was so much that occurred before that video was made that pushed me to that point. So prior to that, all weekend long, my family, my husband, they're all saying, Melissa, we don't think it's safe for you to go in there because my hospital has one of the highest cases in the state of Georgia. My coworker, she even called me on the way to work. She said, I'm about to call and see where they have me scheduled tonight because if they had me going to the corona floor, I'm calling out because they're not making the travel nurses work these floors or float to these floors. They're getting paid the hazard pay. We're not getting paid anything. We're not getting paid anything extra for this, okay? And it's not about the pay, but you're paying these other people $5,000. Why is this nurse? I don't know if the other floors are doing it. Why is she not sending the travelers, but you're sending your regular staff, and we're not even getting paid extra for it? So
question, nurses don't, healthcare professionals don't get hazard pay?
Not in my area, they don't.
Now, Charlemagne, you just asked about hazard pay.
Yeah, I asked do nurses get hazard pay. She said, not in her area.
Not at her job. Mm-hmm.
Right. We don't get it.
So Melissa,
So what do you hope? What do you hope?
So-
What do you hope to gain from all of this, Melissa? Like, what are you hoping to get out of all of
I
this?
wasn't trying to gain anything. I didn't even think it was going to spread like this.
Right.
I
It
feel
organically
like
went
that manager
viral.
needs to go. That manager needs to
You
go.
what?
I'm not the only one that quit that day on my floor.
Who was recently diagnosed with the coronavirus.
He's probably sitting at home laughing at me.
The 54-year-old newsman was visibly emotional during Tuesday's broadcast of CNN Tonight while talking with CNN's senior global affairs analyst.
I mean, we hope that this ends soon, right? But we just don't know how long that'll be.
Hospitals, I'm sorry, that was the next thing. Sorry, I told you I was distracted. Be honest, sorry about that.
I also feel for Chris, and I know it's tough for you, and we're all fighting and rooting for him tonight.
And that's when Don had to reach for the tissues.
Sorry, I said I wasn't going to do this. Jesus. He's probably sitting at home laughing at me.
Chris announced on Tuesday that he had tested positive for COVID-19, noting that he's quarantined in his basement and he hopes he didn't give the virus to his wife Christina or their children.
My brother Chris is positive for coronavirus. Found out this morning. He is going to be fine. He's young, in good shape, strong, not as strong as he thinks.
Chris's older brother and the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, addressed the news during a press conference.
I spoke to him this morning, and he's going to be quarantined in his basement at home. He's just worried about his daughter and his kids.
As for Don, he explained what those tears were all about.
And Chris and I are really good friends. We live near each other. And so when I walk into work every day, I have to walk by where Chris is. So I usually go to his office and I say, what's doing. Sometimes I bring the dogs and we just say hello. Anyway, he's just not here.
Earlier in the show, Don interviewed Chris via video chat.
Where's your suit?
I worked on this hard.
Your black tie and the white shirt?
I'm too sick. Christina said it didn't look right for me to be sick in a funereal suit. It looks too much like what I might be buried in.
Chris is continuing to host his show Cuomo Primetime from quarantine, and he had this message for his viewers on Tuesday night.
Let's use this example of me having it as proof that you can get it too. God forbid. We have to do everything we can to avoid being sick. We have to do it for ourselves, our families, and for those on the front lines who are saving the lives of people like me and many of you. Together as ever as one. That is our remedy. What do you say? Let's get after it.
But Don isn't the only reporter to tear up on air over the global pandemic.
Sorry.
Last week, Hoda Kotb got emotional on the Today Show after interviewing NFL pro Drew Brees, who donated $5 million to Louisiana coronavirus relief.
I also think a lot of things are contagious, including generosity. So our hope is that because, you let us know that you made this big, generous donation, I think other people look and say, hey, maybe I can help out too. Drew, we love you.
Love you too, Hoda.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, a lot more. Sorry.
Later in the show, Hoda opened up about her emotional moment with her co-star Savannah Guthrie.
Hoda.
Who at the time was reporting from home where she was self-quarantining.
The other thing, too, is you sort of look around for someone to hug just because, and you realize, okay,
yeah,
that's also part of it. But anyway, the new normal, we get used to it, right?
Yes, and it's not forever.
Yes.
I'm going to be awkwardly hugging you. You're going to be like, get off me, Savannah. You're a creep. Get out of here. And I'm not going to stop hugging you.
Through it step by step. Begin by cutting a 15-inch by 8-inch piece of fabric. Fold it in half, then measure 3 inches in from each edge and mark, leaving a space between the marks open to accommodate a filter. When you're done, bring the seam to the center. Now cut 2 7-inch pieces of elastic and pin them between the layers of fabric. one end at each corner on each side of the mask. Then just sew along the edges to close up the sides and secure the elastic. Turn the fabric right side out, press it, and you're ready to add pleats. To make the pleats, mark the fabric by placing pins 1 inch from the bottom on each side of the mask. Now keep pinning all the way across. We'll put the correct spacing on the screen for you. These pleats are important because they help the mask expand completely to cover your nose and chin. When your pins are in place, fold the fabric, lining up the pins, secure with extra if needed, and sew along the edge. Continue doing that on each side of the mask and it's ready to go. Easy, right? And now that you have it down, you can make some masks for yourself and some extras to donate.